Hi everyone, this is your online tutorial for In the S 1800. I'm going to take a look at MLA referencing, which you will be using for your assignment 7 and assignment 8 if you do choose to put in any research in the reflection page. So we're actually going to begin again at the library.yorku.ca website. And this time you're going to scroll down to Research and Learn, and in that row you'll see Citing Your Work. So for citing your work in Assignment 7, we're going to use the MLA style reference guide. So this is a pretty common guide used in Canada, so it's not a bad opportunity to get familiar with it. I'm sure some of you have already done some referencing for other classes. And so this will be kind of using it now will come in handy throughout your academic career. So it's a good chance to get accustomed to it now. And also because at this point we're only using 3 sources, it's a really great opportunity to practice using MLA as well. And of course, I know that referencing can be confusing and there's lots of different possible sources you could use. So hopefully this will make it as clear as possible, and I also am open if you have any questions or you can't find how to source something specifically. As long as you've already tried and done your homework, I'm happy to help you out and help you figure that out because I know it can be confusing. Okay, so once you've clicked on footnotes and bibliographies, let's go to MLA. It's one of the tabs along the top here. So once you arrive here, you'll see a bunch of different options. I'm going to suggest that you click on Purdue Owl. It is a great MLA formatting and style guide to use. It's pretty user-friendly, so let's go ahead and click on that. So if you begin here, it'll give you pretty much all the information you need to cite your references properly. You can go to the sidebar here and you'll see all these options. They have a style introduction, they offer examples in the general format, quotations, footnotes, all these basic things. So it's a really, really great way to begin to get familiar with this style. So for your specific assignment, for assignment 7, we're just requesting that you use in-text citations, but that also you have a works cited page. So we'll go through a couple examples from the course so you can get familiar with how to do that. Let's begin with in-text citations. So you can actually click on the Owl Purdue website. They actually have MLA in-text citations, the basics. This is a great place to start. So it's a pretty straightforward process. Basically, you need to cite something if you're using a quote or if you're using somebody's main idea, say the main argument of a book, or you want to kind of reference somebody's research in a book, basically. But it's an idea versus a quote. So we'll get to that in a second. So there's a couple ways you can use a quote, and sometimes it's nice to switch it up just as kind of a style option if you want. So one way you could do this, say I'd like to quote a piece from Sandyland's book, Kate's book. Maybe I want to source or cite the intro. So I would say one option I could do is I could say Sandyland says that, and then I would do that quote, and then I would end the quotation, and then I would write the page number in brackets with the period at the end of that. So you could say Sandyland says, quote, page number, period. That's one option you could do. The other option you could do is that you would build the quote into the sentence itself. This is a really great way, and it kind of shows a very sophisticated style of writing. So I urge you to try and do this if you can. I'll just use the example that they have on the Owl Purdue page instead of trying to come up with it myself. So they have romantic poetry is characterized by the quotation, spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings, and quote. And then they have in brackets Wordsworth, 263, bracket, period. So you can see that in this way, they've actually included the quotation into their own sentence, which is a really great way of citing an author. So you have these two options here. I also mentioned that you want to use a citation when you are borrowing somebody's idea. So just because you're not using a specific quote doesn't mean you don't have to cite. If you are using someone's main argument, for example, if I want to talk about Rob Nixon's book, Slow Violence, and I want to talk about some of the main ideas in that book, I'm going to have to quote or credit Nixon with the ideas that I'm using to build on their argument, right? And that's always kind of what you want to do in essays. You want to look at somebody's idea, and then you're either bringing in other ideas to make a strong argument, and that this will, come together to make something really strong to serve your essay. So it's totally okay to use other people's ideas. You just have to make sure that you credit it to them. So you might want to just do it very simply. You could say, Nixon says da 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 da, and you would include Nixon in your works cited page. So it's pretty simple, but you just gotta kind of be aware of that. Sometimes it's hard to decipher your ideas from the author's ideas, but hopefully what you're trying to do, again, is build upon the author's ideas so that you kind of, take what they're doing and then you interpret it differently. And that's your addition to what they've already said, as long as you credit them. So I hope that's clear. Let's now move on to your works cited page. So I'm going to take you through two different styles of citing. We're going to look at a book, and we're going to look at a work in an anthology. So I'll take you through both of those. First, we're going to cite Ocean Vuong's text, On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. So the basic format for that, and again, you can follow along on Owl Purdue, is that we would have last name, comma, first name, period. On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. This is italicized. And then we're going to have Penguin Press, comma, 2019, period. So this is pretty complicated to explain verbally, but again, I think it's easiest if you just look on the Owl Purdue page, and it will give you kind of an example of what you have to do. So basically we have last name, comma, first name, period, title of book in italicized, period, city of publication, comma, publisher, comma, publication date, period. So that's the general format for a book with one author. Of course, some books have two authors or multiple authors, and they have examples of all this on the Owl Purdue page. So it's a really, really great resource. Let's discuss perhaps a more complicated entry. Again, this information was found on the Owl Purdue page, but I'll just take it through here. So let's say we want to cite a work in an anthology, such as a work in Rising Tide. Maybe you're using it for your piece. So let's look at Alison Caldwell's Wildfire. So in this scenario, we would cite Caldwell, comma, Alison, period. We would have her piece, specific piece, in quotation marks, Wildfire, with the period inside the quotation marks. We then would have the words Rising Tide, italicized, comma, edited by Katrina Sandelians, comma, with the Caitlin Press, comma, 2019, comma, and then we would specify the pages that it's on, so PP period 71 to 76. Again, this sounds pretty complicated when I'm explaining it verbally, but it really is just a process of going through this website, finding exactly what you're quoting. Am I quoting an anthology? Am I quoting a book with one author? Am I quoting an article? And just making sure that you're following the guidelines set up on this page. And again, if you have any questions, I'm really happy to help you. And I urge you to contact me if you need anything. And let's just talk briefly about it is possible to plagiarize your own work. So I know we've encouraged you as we get to kind of the end of the semester that you're allowed to reuse some of your ideas that you've used in earlier poems. It's a great way to build on an idea, especially if you felt really connected to something. You can build on that. Sometimes the arguments that we come up with at the beginning of the year are still the things we're grappling with at the end of the year, but we might have some more nuanced ideas to add to it. So definitely build on some of the ideas you formed, some of the research you've done, maybe in other classes. What you have to be careful of, however, is that you're not just, copying and pasting exactly what you said in your Environmental 1000 essay, but that you're actually rewriting those thoughts and that you're applying those thoughts to the specific ask of this assignment. So the best way to do that is to, maybe read through your a former essay or a piece of work that you've written once, but then after that, put that away and have those ideas in your head and allow them to influence your writing, allow them to come through your writing, but we don't want to directly copy and paste because then we get into this issue of we're actually plagiarizing ourselves and not doing the specific work of the assignment. So I hope that's clear. If you have any questions, again, please don't hesitate to contact me by email. I'm very happy to correspond with you. And if you are really struggling, we can arrange a phone call. So thanks so much, everyone, and happy essay writing.